Oh, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and others who shall remain nameless. Love yous all. Yeah, as I said, good morning. Yeah. And welcome to the balcony. It's a beautiful, beautiful Saturday morning. It's Easter Saturday, yeah. So, if you are of that particular religious persuasion, happy Easter. Happy Easter. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. Today. Hey, yep, it's me again. With the election coming up really, really fast, it occurs to me there are a lot of people who depend upon the social contract, who are gung-ho to vote against the social contract upon which they are dependent. Yeah. A lot of people with health issues and very small pensions who want to get rid of the public health care that they need to survive. Many of them diabetic or requiring some other form of medication that, if the Conservatives win this election, they're going to lose their pensions, they're going to lose their health care, they're going to lose their pharmacare, what pharmacare there is, and they're going to be forced to face a for-profit, user-pays system in which corporate health care aggressively price gouges them for everything they have and then throws them out to die when the money runs out. And they're going to vote for it. And I love some of these people. Some of these people are wonderful people, but they have been bamboozled by Pierre Poilievre, whose incessant lies, well, let's be honest, are bought and paid for from Langley, Virginia, and Mar-a-Lago, Florida. The thing is, these people are not cruel or stupid or malicious. They're perfectly good people. They're wonderful people, many of them. But their TV set is permanently dialed into Fox News, and their internet is permanently tuned in to other right-wing media, which constantly bombards them with the message, liberals bad, conservatives good. And that influences them very heavily. They're not bad people, but they do consume right-wing media, and they're going to vote against their own best interests. That is unfortunate. That is very unfortunate. This Canadian election, more than any other Canadian election, looks like it's going to be influenced by American right-wing media influencers. And that's disturbing. Our next Prime Minister may very well be chosen by Matt Walsh, Stu Peters, Tim Pool, Jesse Lee Peterson, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, who are, by the way, a couple, and several thousand Russian internet trolls, specializing in destabilizing progressive governments in order to facilitate the election of regressive governments. Yeah. And that's the sad reality of this election, is if the far right gets their way, it might be the last Canadian election. If Poilievre gets in, it could be the last Canadian election. And that is more than a little disturbing. To me in particular, as a Canadian citizen who has studied civics and who did in fact get a good mark in civics in the 8th grade and again in the 9th grade. Do they still teach civics in junior high school and high school? Do they still teach civics? I'm not 100% sure that they do. In fact, I'm starting to wonder if maybe we've forgotten to teach civics. And maybe that's why so many people in Canada who are not in Pierre Poilievre's riding think that they can vote for Pierre Poilievre. Yeah. I'm a little out of practice. Yeah, so, as I've been saying, a lot of Canadian voters either never took civics, or they failed civics, or they forgot civics. I have done none of the above. I took civics, I passed civics, I understood civics, and I remembered civics. And I remembered that Canada has a different electoral system from America. It's a different system. And, oh, Canada geese over there. You can see them, yeah. Yeah, Canada has a slightly different electoral system than the Americans have. We do not vote directly for a head of state. So no, if you're living in Bruce Grey, Owen Sound, you are not voting for Pierre Poilievre or Mark Carney. You're voting for a local representative, because in Canada, we don't vote for a head of state directly. We don't have a president. Yeah, something to remember. But more importantly, what are the policies of the Conservative Party of Canada these days? I mean, let's be honest, we've come a long way from when Joe Clark was simply a small C conservative who was still very much about king and country. Or queen and country, as the case may be back then, yeah. Today, the Conservative Party does not care about the monarchy. They're more inclined to concern themselves with what's going on in Washington rather than what's going on in Westminster. Yeah, that's a problem. Also, a lot of conservative voters seem to think that we have a Washington-style system as well. And we don't. Again, it's a Westminster system. Westminster, in England. Yeah, very much tied to the monarchy, the crown. The Queen, or nowadays the King, because now we have Charles III, who is our official head of state, represented by the Governor General, who is another symbolic figure. Oh, well, actual authority lies not even with the Prime Minister, but with Parliament as a whole. Parliament as a whole, because one of our checks and balances is a head of state is still very much ceremonial. A head of state is just the guy who gives the press release. He's not the guy who's making the decisions. And I just wanted to share this with you. The geese in the background. Yeah, just so you know what's just lurking just at the very edge of reality. Yeah. Canada geese. also known as cobra chickens. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah. I just want to close by saying that Polyev wants to get rid of public health care and wants to bring in an American-style, for-profit, price-gouging healthcare system that is solely concerned with sucking money out of patients. Yeah. On the promise of shorter wait times, while ignoring the fact that those shorter wait times are only for the rich, because only the rich can afford to buy their way to the front of the line. That's how America gets shorter wait times. Literally. You have 100 poor people who came in first, and then you have a rich person who comes in behind them, and the rich person waves his credit card, and he goes to the front of the line. And the poor people have to wait. But the rich person got to go first, so therefore, shorter wait times. Yeah. And that's the promise on which Pierre Poilievre wants to scrap Canadian public health care. He also wants to scrap Canadian education and replace it with American education, which again is private and for-profit. Especially now when they're getting rid of public schools, or rather defunding them to the point of uselessness, and using tax revenue to pay for private charter schools where rich people can send their kids to actually get an education. While poor people have to settle for a drafty classroom with no books, no desks, and quite possibly no teachers, where they have to sit there and wait until the bell rings and then go through security to be allowed to go home. Yeah. Wonk. 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 God, those geese are arrogant. Yeah. Okay. Anywho. Yeah, there it is, right there. Yeah, you can see them. Okay, but I digress. Yeah, that's the kind of future that Poilievre wants for Canada. An American future. Including the status of, yes, you guessed it, 51st state, with himself as the first governor of that 51st state. And if you can't have that, well then, the next best thing for Poilievre is that he can become El Presidente of the Banana Republic of Canada, and the rest of us will just lose our rights anyway, and El Presidente will rule on behalf of his masters in, again, Washington and Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. Or should I say Langley, Virginia, and Mar-a-Lago, Florida. I've mentioned those before already, haven't I? Yes. That is where the Conservative Party of Canada today is getting its marching orders from. Something you should be very, very concerned about if you are a Canadian citizen who earns less than $1 million a year. If you're making less than $1 million a year, well, as George Carlin said, it's an exclusive club and you're not invited. Yeah. Yeah. Again, something to think about. And another thing about what Poilievre wants to do, and he's been pretty open about this. If you are disabled and receive a disability pension, or if you are over 65 and are living on old age benefits, or if it's some combination of the two, yeah, you might want to get your work boots out, because Poilievre wants to get rid of your pension. Yeah. And if you're diabetic and need financial assistance, affording your insulin. Well, you can kiss that goodbye too, because Poilievre wants to get rid of what little pharmacare we have in this country, and again, replace it with American for-profit systems, which are designed to gouge the consumer. Yeah, that's something to think about on your way to the polls. Poilievre is going to take away your pension. He's going to make you go back to work if you're over 65, or if you're disabled, if you're a crippled veteran, maimed in one of the wars that we have fought on behalf of the Americans. Poilievre wants to put you to work. He doesn't want you getting your veteran's pension, your old age pension, or your disability pension. He wants to make you go back into the workforce. Something else to think about. Yeah, I just thought that I would leave you with that particular pleasant note. Anywho, take care, be well, stay safe, love yous all. Do not vote conservative. Because unless you're a millionaire, the conservatives think you are disposable, expendable, stupid, and a burden upon society. Yeah. Something to think about.